He's the last of the Vikings, and he's as terrifying as he is impressive. And yet, his mantra in life is do what scares you the most. Today, we'll be talking about Ken Storns and his completely crazy approach to life. This is Ken Storns, a 34-year-old Norwegian and the master of the death dive. It consists of diving from really high up and finishing with a splash. This guy is totally cold-blooded. He's as at home in the snow as he is in freezing torrents of water. This modern-day Viking knows better than anyone that this sport is highly risky and requires years of training. Ken even earned a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records in 2021. All 253,000 of his Instagram followers can't get enough of his antics. But in order to overcome his fears and become a professional, Ken had to learn how to surpass his limits and stare death in the face. He spent several years in the Norwegian Army, which helped him form the impressive physique you see today. At the time, Ken was still yet to master the art of cliff jumping. But over the years, Storns gradually learned his craft, and in 2008, he took part in the World Championships. Even though he didn't win the competition, Ken kept on breaking record after record, especially when he pulled off a jump in Oslo from over 30 meters high. We're talking about a guy here who jumped from a height equivalent to 10 stories. But in all his endeavors, Ken Storns is never truly by himself. To claim the world record, this completely insane Norwegian assembled a 7-man team to help him prepare as best he could. All he had to do was focus on his performance. Unfortunately for Ken, his world record was tied by 2 other death jumpers who leapt from the same height. But Storns has promised he'll find a new, even higher point so he can prove he's the undisputed king of death diving. And you'd be a fool to bet against him. So when you see Ken Storns in his Kratos-like physique, know that he's been blessed by the gods. And if you were wondering whether he's got other impressive achievements under his belt, the answer is obviously yes. That's because this Norwegian brute is also an MMA specialist. In 2018, Ken competed in an official event in Norway for the first time in his career. Storns won his first 2 bouts before coming up just short in the final. He still managed to bring home the silver medal for his team. Anyone who managed to see him in action was impressed by his endurance and his pure Viking mentality. Some of them even said fighting Ken Storns was like punching an iceberg. Clearly, no one wanted a piece of him, which shouldn't surprise you if you know your Viking history. Ken grew up in a small village in the north of Norway, and to say that it was cold there year-round would be an understatement. Plunging to sub-14-degree waters isn't just a talent, it's what he's used to, and when you've seen him in action, he makes it look almost effortless. By training in the freezing cold, in just his underpants, Ken Storns has almost returned to a primal state. It's even crazier when you realize he's barely reacting to temperatures that would turn mere mortals into ice cubes. But let me make one thing clear, this Norwegian doesn't spend all his time deep in the forest or in the freezing water. He's also a serious gym rat. Well, he's said it's not his favorite thing in the world, but the guy is still capable of pulling off 520-pound squats like they're almost nothing. It should be said that since he was tiny, Ken has always had a whole load of energy to spare. And he's still got his sense of humor too, but I'll let you judge that for yourselves. Now, I don't know about you, but if I happened across this guy in a forest, I'd be running for my life. I mean, I'm sure he'd catch me in under 10 seconds, but still. But being serious for a moment, Ken should be crowned as the king of living life to the fullest. He lives to take risks, and there's not a day in the calendar where he's not pushing himself to the limit. This guy is a walking source of inspiration. We can't wait to see what crazy thing he comes up with next.